But if you remain comfortable with where you are and you cannot seem to move, then that alternative community will wither on the vine. And I'll give you a simple case in point. I remember a gentleman I was visiting a long time ago who came from the farm, moved into town, then went to the old age home. Each move was a challenge. Each move was a struggle, because he was a very independent man, a very competent man, a very active man in terms of business and business affairs. Very proud. But he went from his farm to his home, had to live in a community, had to participate in community groups, and realized for the first time it's not his life anymore. It's his life with others. And then worst of all, his wife dies, his children move away, and he eventually loses some of his capacity to be independent, so he moves into a lodge. And again, he's affronted because he can't live the life he once had. That's because he has placed his trust in himself rather than realizing that God has a plan for him. It's called change, transition, and from it, there are rich rewards to be gained. So place your hand in God's hand. Let life evolve. Let it lead you where it will. Instead of fighting it, relinquish to it. And let it become a blessing rather than a curse. Number 2, live your life with a trust that is authentic. Paul says, live according to the values that I've taught you. Don't buy into the Gentiles. Don't buy into those who were Jews converted into Christians who lapsed back into their Jewish practice. Follow me, he says. Follow my example. I love you. I support you. And I know that you will build this alternative community that we are all waiting for as we wait for Jesus to return. At least that was Paul's thinking at the time. Let me give you a simple case in point about living your trust authentically. Many of you saw the news recently of what happened in New Zealand. You also know what happened in Quebec City last year, or 2 years ago, I should say. What happened? We have immigrants who come to our country who worship God a different way, and they have been shot at. They have been shot at by people who, for whatever reasons, are terribly afraid and can't open their trust. During the 1930s, the government did something very extraordinary, and I think many of you have probably read the book entitled None is Too Many. And it's about the Mackenzie King government, in which a boatload of people were coming from Germany who were Jewish, and they were turned away because it was the Depression. Where would we house these Jewish people? Where would they get their jobs? They would only take our jobs away if we let them in, so they were turned away. Trust does not give you the right to turn strangers away. Trust doesn't give you the right to say that one person's way of worshiping is wrong and yours is right. And trust does not give you the right to take away their place and their space to practice their alternative community. All of you have children. You have a family. Not one is the same, correct? And they live their destiny as they should, correct? And they raise their children the way they think they should raise them, correct? Does that give you the right to not trust what they do? I've heard many of you parents say, I wouldn't do what they're doing. Why? Well, because when I was a parent, this is what I did. I understand that, but this is the 21st century. I say that tongue-in-cheek. My point is, trust means letting go, letting it be, and allowing people their space and their place. My last point. Live to fight for another day. Choose a hill to pick upon which you wish to die. Don't die for every cause. Don't sacrifice your life for every issue that comes before you. Choose wisely. Know where you want to stand in terms of that alternate community that you wish to create. Make the sacrifices you wish to make at that point. Jesus knew that it wasn't his time. He was waiting for Jerusalem. He knew what he wanted to do, and he wanted to make his statement before the temple authorities, before the very power of Rome. He did not want to do it in Herod Antipas's backyard. Choose the ground you wish to evidence that alternative community. Choose the place and the time. But don't get sucked in to picking every time to be your hill to die on. Conserve your energy. Conserve your critical thinking. Utilize it for the point at which it will make a difference. But if you don't, and you race around chasing many passions without a central focus, nothing will change for the better. As you journey from here to trust God, let him lead you by the hand. Let him create a place and a space for you. Let that place and that space be authentic by letting go, by sharing